What's up, nerds? Welcome to DNA Real Talk. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me is Sanna.
Hello.
We're manning the post while camera's out. This is DNA's official movie podcast. If you like it, subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and like us on Facebook. Join the community page. I'm not going to go through the whole rigmarole this time because we don't have a lot of time. We're on a time crunch.
You know where to find us.
Yeah, if you've been listening to us by now, you know where to find us. And if this is your first time listening to us, well,
welcome.
That's your fault. But we watched Trumbo, one of the Oscar-nominated movies, and it's a pretty interesting movie. It's a biopic about Dalton Trumbo, a blacklisted screenwriter from the 50s.
It was like mid to late 40s and in the 50s for most of it.
When communism was a growing threat. Mm-hmm. And, well, it kind of took place over a couple decades, actually, but it started probably around the 50s.
It started after the war,
yeah,
and then it led into the 50s.
Yeah, and it was a pretty interesting look into that time and how afraid people were of communism and like people
because you'll hear about it, but it was like people's real life experiences.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting look into someone's life who, you know, was open about being a communist or having the ideals of a communist.
Yeah,
which is
very proud of it at that.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see what he had to go through from, you know, just a basic, I'm a family man type place in his life to, you know, his work and what happened throughout, you know, him having to hide his identity.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying to write scripts and do all these things. It was pretty interesting, and Bryan Cranston was amazing.
Amazing. Pretty much synopsis for everyone that hasn't seen it. It's this guy who was an amazing screenwriter in the 40s, and there was other people as well, but it's mainly about him. They got blacklisted because they were communists, but then to keep working, because they had to support their families, they worked under fake names. Like, they joined, it was, the character was played by John Goodman, this company that wasn't doing very well. Like, they used to work for, like, MGM, and so they went to this guy who was failing movies, and they were pretty much like, pay us half, we'll write these screenplays or fix the screenplays we already have. Your name gets bigger. No one knows you used our name. And that worked for a really long time.
Yeah.
But they, like, really abused it because they were like, we're just going to make you keep working because we know you need it. So he neglected his whole family. Like, it consumed his entire life.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because it was like this whole team of writers. It was like him and his friends. Louis C.K. was in it. Yeah. And he did really well. Alan Tudyk, for people who watch, you know, have seen Firefly, and he's in a ton of other things as smaller characters, but like he was amazing in this, and he had a smaller role in it, but he was amazing, and that's going to transition later into our bigger topic of the week, which is comedic actors taking on dramatic roles. But you know, I just thought, you know, the way, like, they had to hide them, they literally had to hide themselves behind fake names and these bigger companies that would take them on and pay them less money to do what they love to do. Yeah. And that's kind of, it's almost inspirational in a way. Yeah. Because, like, you know, as not as not as drastic as that, but, you know, we're kind of doing the same thing within DNA, where, like, we're trying to do this. This is our dream, is to do stuff like this, and, like, to do podcasts and shows and original content and stuff like that. But, you know, these people had to deal with real risks and real consequences and real loss. Oh, yeah. So it was really interesting.
And it even got to a point where people were kind of over it, but I don't know who she was in real life, but Helen Mirren played this woman that was pretty much like a journalist, and she was her life goal to get these guys blacklisted. So even when people started forgetting about them, she was like, no. And she caught on to it, and she just made sure they stayed down. So it was really, like, interesting, just kind of the, like, I don't know, there was... They tried to say that it was such a big deal because they were using screenwriting to make audiences want to be communists.
Because at the time, movies were like the biggest influence because they were so new, and like you could actually use visuals to tell a story instead of reading a book, which, you know, before movies was obviously the dominant medium was books and paper and magazines and stuff. But you know, we've kind of set the stage for what the theme of this movie is. Let's get into the character himself, Donald Trumbo.
Okay.
He obviously a brilliant screenwriter. Just the way Bryan Cranston played him. He changed the way he walked. He changed his stance, his voice, his like little walk where he was semi-slouched. Even like the mustache was on point. And he changed his voice, the way he talked. Like, I mean, you can fake an accent, but this was like...
It wasn't an accent.
This wasn't an accent. This was
the
more
literal
like,
way he talked.
I mean, you know the way he talks, and like, you know, I didn't watch much of Breaking Bad, but you know, you watch him in Malcolm in the Middle or Breaking Bad. He has a distinct voice.
Oh yeah.
And the way he talked, it was more like
subdued almost.
Yeah, and like had this like lower, almost like a longtime smoker type rasp to it, and like just the way he played this character, I'm just like, now that we watch this movie, I'm surprised he didn't win for this, because it was good. It was an amazing
You can tell it like took over his life for a little bit, just because you didn't see Bryan Cranston, you saw Dalton Trumbo.
Yeah, and it was just amazing the way he portrayed this character through the struggles that they were obviously going through, and you know, there was points where you thought, oh, well, he's going to jail, he's going to lose his family. No, he didn't lose his family, because even though his wife wasn't communist, like they very clearly said that, like, she loved him so much to let him believe in what he believed in, which was another amazing aspect of that movie, where she stuck with him through this whole thing. And like once he did that interview towards the end of the movie where they're like, it's finally over, and like it was probably 20 years down the timeline, at least 25 years down the timeline,
and she just had her held high and kept her mouth shut and took care of the family, and
and like
it was definitely that like 1950s like relationship though, or the wife kind of steps back and takes care of the family, but it was more than that. It was like out of love. It wasn't really out of her duty.
Yeah, you know, I didn't really get that though, like the typical 50s relationship thing, because in the movie they specifically said this was her second marriage.
Oh yeah.
So like she very clearly didn't like got divorced and now is with him, which didn't really happen in the 50s. So that very clearly could have been an option for her. Yeah. And she didn't. Yeah. And, you know, the kids were working for him, trying to help him make ends meet. And then he won that first Oscar, and then the second Oscar behind fake names. They were watching it at home. And, like, those little moments. Yeah,
he won after everything he was doing behind the scenes. He actually wins an Oscar under a fake name. And then they said years later, they finally gave it to him as himself. Yeah. And then Kirk Douglas comes around and believes in him so much for some reason, as this is all kind of starting to downplay. Yeah. And he's like, his name will be on this movie. I don't care what you say. Yeah. Helen Mirren's character threatened to take him down.
Yeah. The
movie became super controversial. Yeah. Because it had his name on it. But then it became super successful, and he won awards. And so, like, it's Kirk Douglas kind of, like, swooped in. And
and the guy that played Kirk Douglas was, like, spot on. So, like, that was, I mean, just the way, and, like, there was certain people in this movie that were supposed to be playing other famous people, clearly. Like, someone was playing JFK, someone was playing John Wayne, and then this guy that was playing Kirk Douglas. And they all they sounded like those characters, but didn't really look like. But this guy that played Kirk Douglas was like spot on. The weird voice, like the thin voice that was like very, I don't know how to describe it. But Kirk Douglas has a very distinct way of talking if you've seen any Kirk Douglas movies, and it was just I honestly didn't care about this movie, and now I love this movie.
Yeah.
I actually love this movie.
I would
definitely watch it again.
Just because, and now it's become like, it was so much more than that. It was deep without feeling like it was deep.
Yeah.
And like I went to my mom and was like, you have to watch this movie. And like, there's not a lot of movies that like we hit both of our generations, but it was a period piece, but it wasn't focused on, it was really interesting. It was about the communism, but they didn't go political.
And something like about this movie, I wonder if it would hit your mom different because like
she's Russian.
Yeah. You guys are from there, and she was there during the time of communism. I wonder if that would just like the meaning behind this movie or something. I wonder if that would hit different. Not,
maybe,
just like, not that your mom's a communist or anything, but like, just like dealing with communism and the differences and stuff like that. I wonder if the story points would hit different.
Maybe.
I don't know
to what extent.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, this movie was really good, and like there were a lot of funny parts in this movie too, like where he was typing in the bathroom, like literally in the tub with a. But
then they showed pictures at the end, and that's what he used to do.
I know, and it was a really, really good movie. I definitely think if you like Bryan Cranston at all, or if you are into like historical movies at all, or even if you want something different, like you should watch this movie.
Oh yeah,
definitely a movie you should be watching.
Yeah, I really liked it. It made you think, but it wasn't like deep. It wasn't that deep. It was enough.
Yeah, it wasn't like there's the first movie he made us watch. Cameron made us watch
99 Homes.
Yeah, it wasn't like that deep, but it
cried for like 3 days.
But I mean, it was good. I really enjoyed it. It hit, like, it was serious when it needed to be serious, and it was funny to break up the serious parts, which was funny. Like when John Goodman was breaking everything in the room with a baseball bat and cussing out the
and I love
lawyer
me some
guy.
John Goodman. I love him.
Yeah, so it was good. Definitely 2 thumbs up from me.
And me. Ow.
So, well, actually, we're going to transition into our topic of the week, which is, it seems like a lot of comedic actors are taking on serious roles. You've seen Seth Rogen recently played Steve Wozniak, Jonah Hill in Moneyball.
Yeah.
Zach Galifianakis in Birdman.
Birdman, yeah.
So like there's a lot of people taking on serious roles, and that includes Trumbo. Louis C.K., Alan Tudyk, Bryan Cranston started as a comedic actor. Like, why do you think these comedians, like basically comedians, are taking on more serious roles? Even Jason Segel is in an indie movie recently where he's taking on a super serious role.
I think Kristen Wiig Sarah Silverman did a serious movie recently. I didn't see it, but it was a pretty serious movie. I saw the trailer.
Yeah.
But I think it's part of it is for obvious reasons, so they don't get typecast.
Yeah.
And other part of it is probably them being creative people. It's probably just to see how far they can push themselves. Yeah. It's probably like a goal for them. Can I do this? And there's nothing wrong with being a comedic actor, but am I just a comedic actor? Am I just this? Am I just that? I think for their own progression in their career, it's for them. And I can't say I would know why, like, producers and casting directors go for comedians, because I think that's a risk.
I think it's because, like, well, sorry to interrupt, but like I think it's because comedy has like this wide range, like within itself, and like, if you're just like a serious actor, like just you play that same role, like there's not really many ways to play serious, whereas there's a ton of different types of comedy.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we have the stoner comedy like Seth Rogen and James Franco, or we have, Adam Sandler.
Like, physical.
Yeah, and there's just so many different... there's a wide range with comedy, whereas like you can fit an actor with... You can see the range in their comedy, and say, oh, he might fit this role specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I saw, like, really paid attention to a comedic actor in a serious role, and it was Adam Sandler in the movie Spanglish.
Yeah.
And like,
I love that movie.
Yeah, that was
like one of my favorite movies.
That was a great movie, and Adam Sandler did a great job, and he also did a great job in
I can't think of. I know. I've been thinking
Rain Over Me with Don Cheadle.
Oh, I was thinking. What's that other one that he did serious that Seth Rogen was in too?
Oh, Funny People.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't like that movie. I liked it.
That was
It was long.
Well, like there was funny parts in that movie, but it was obviously not a funny movie. But because like the whole point of that movie is like he has cancer and he's dying and he's going on his farewell tour, and he hires a team of writers to help him, and they all become friends, and like that movie was really sad. I
know, but I liked it.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that movie was really sad and serious, and I thought, Adam Sandler was great, and he has.
But there's a perfect example of that typecasting. I know a lot of people. I watched that movie and I liked it, and I remember a lot of people hated it because they were like, Adam Sandler, Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill. It's called Funny People. It has to be funny, and they were like, that movie's not funny. It was so stupid. It wasn't trying to be funny. It was trying to be serious. So I think that's an example of how they kind of get typecast. Is people went in expecting it to be funny, and that's not what they were trying to deliver. So,
and it's not like comedians are like every time they take on a serious role, it's oh man, that's performance was great, because like the first time Seth Rogen took on a serious role, maybe second time right after Funny People, I forget what movie it was, but he wasn't that great. But everyone says that he should have been nominated for an Oscar, and Steve Jobs for Best Supporting Actor, and like I can see that. Like I think comedic actors are underappreciated because of what they do.
Comedy's harder than drama.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Because comedy's all about timing. Yeah. It's all about hitting, hitting the mark with the right words and the right timing. It's all about timing. And whereas seriousness, like a big dramatic scene, like you can take your time with it. It doesn't necessarily need to hit certain points at certain times. Whereas,
and people are a lot harder on comedy than drama.
Yeah.
If somebody does a dramatic role, it's like, oh, it was good or bad. If somebody does a comedic role, there's so many more. It was okay. It was this. It could have been this. It could have been that.
Yeah.
There's so many more. I don't know.
Yeah.
It has to impress you in so many more ways.
Yeah, and we've seen even like something I just really thought of is like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Like, look where they're at now in their careers, and look where they started. Or Will Smith, look where he started, and look where he's at now. Like, some people forget, like, he started on Fresh Prince, like,
as
a younger
goofy
generation.
Dude.
Yeah. And then he moved on to Men in Black, which is a goofy movie.
Yeah.
But then he went on to do Independence Day, which was a very action-oriented movie. Yeah. And now you see him, he did Concussion, which is a very different type of movie from Independence Day. And now he's going to be in Suicide Squad, which he plays a very serious character in that movie. So, like, you just see all these like funny actors, like they can show range, and it's very interesting to see what happens. So
when in Trumbo, I was telling him if I didn't know Louis C.K. was a comedian, I wouldn't have known. Like, it was perfect.
Yeah, and he's hilarious.
Absolutely perfect.
Louis C.K. is very hilarious.
Like, but I think with him, it worked it was so seamless because he's very dry.
That's true. He is
even
very dry.
when he's being funny, his voice is very, like, it's his normal voice. He's not, like, putting on a show or, like, turning into a character. He's just, even on Louis, he's himself.
Yeah.
So I think that was a little more seamless, but I like it.
Yeah, I do too. And, like, it's not like Jim Gaffigan playing this role.
Yeah. He kind of, like, becomes a character. He's a little different.
Yeah. Whereas, like, comedians, I think comedians that play themselves as the character on stage are the best comedians.
Yeah.
And that's the comedy that transfers well.
Oh, yeah.
Into other genres.
So 2 thumbs up. for comedians doing serious roles the right way.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few examples.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the way comedians transfer into serious roles is very interesting to watch.
Even a couple years ago, I remember Jennifer Aniston did that movie Cake, and it got a lot of praise, and she always does romantic comedies. No one expected, you know. Mm-hmm. And I remember people asking her, why, you know, you do romantic comedies, why do a serious movie? That's why. Mm-hmm. Like, why not? You've been in this business 20 plus years, why not?
Yeah.
So.
Didn't Jason Sudeikis just do something real serious recently, too?
Yes, I can see it, but I can't. The words aren't coming out. I know. Oh, and Steve Carell, he's been doing serious stuff.
Oh yeah,
he
The
did
Big
that
Short
movie,
was super serious.
With
and
Channing Tatum, they were like wrestlers.
What's it
and
called?
He got makeup and everything.
The wrestling movie, I forget what it's called.
It came out last year.
Yeah,
but
it was nominated for Oscars. And
stuff. And
that was a very different role for both of those.
Hell, even Channing Tatum, he started with Step Up and Magic Mike, and he's become pretty serious.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But he's also really funny in like 21 Jump Street.
Yeah,
so,
hilarious.
Which we have a question about later.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So if it's done the right way, we're all for it. You know, it just can't be forced.
Yeah. What do you say we get into some questions?
Sure.
Because we have a lot.
Okay.
Our friend Roger asks, what are your thoughts on the new R-rated trend that may be happening in the superhero movies post-Deadpool? Do you feel this is a good or a bad thing, and why?
I think they shouldn't do it. Because Deadpool works because it's Deadpool. That's not going to work with Iron Man and Captain America.
Here's the thing. It depends on the hero, too.
That being my point.
Because Batman v Superman, by the time you hear this, is already out. It's not getting great reviews, but I'm going to save judgment until I see it.
Yeah,
Everybody knows how I feel about Superman, who watches anything we do. Team Batman, by the way. But that's getting a rated R release on Blu-ray, not in the theaters, just on Blu-ray, just like a rated R director's cut type thing. Like, that could work for like a Batman solo movie. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that would work with Batman and Superman, and I know the DC universe is taking a way more serious tone than anything Marvel's done, except for like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, which, I mean, it works for those shows. It's basically rated R. I mean, Jessica Jones and Daredevil are basically rated R shows, which second season Daredevil, highly recommended. But it depends on the hero. And I think heroes that would work, Wolverine would work well. Yeah. In certain aspects, like Old Man Logan is rumored to be rated R and rumored to be the next Wolverine movie, and I could see that being rated R if it's done right. Although, see, I don't know. And I think a movie like Suicide Squad could very easily be rated
R.
I
get. That I get.
But like, if you take something like Guardians of the Galaxy or Ant-Man or something, like, those movies don't need to be rated R. So like, if this is going to be some kind of big trend, like, honestly, the movies that I could see the most doing it on the Marvel side, even though it's not Disney, it's Fox, is the X-Men movies could take a step into it.
I can see that.
Because the X-Men have always been...
They've been more adult, I think, from the get-go.
Yeah, and like the X-Men movies have always dealt with very serious things like racism and diversity and all those types of problems. And
privacy.
Yeah, and I really feel like if done correctly to tell the right story, those movies could be rated R, but like not in the Deadpool sense, but more of a serious tone.
Yeah.
Deadpool obviously worked very well, but it definitely depends on the hero.
But my question is, what is missing from these movies that they need to be rated R? Like, do you go to these movies and you're like, I wish I had more profanity. I wish I had more guts.
I wish I had more boobs in my superhero movies.
He just got punched in the face. Just kidding. No, funny. I don't know. I think... Stop it. I think what makes me nervous is Deadpool works for a reason. They're going to try to copy it, and it's going to suck.
Yeah, the first movie that tries to do what Deadpool did without the, like, with the wrong character, first of all, but without Ryan Reynolds and director, what's his name? I forget what the director's name is.
I don't remember.
Miller. I forget who the director is, but this has been a passion project of theirs for 10 years. Yeah. They've been trying to get this movie off the ground, written, shot, and out.
Yeah.
Like, without that kind of passion, it won't work either.
Oh, yeah.
If it's a studio trying to make money off of a rated R comic book film, that's where the problem starts also.
And I think there should be just those special movies, because I do think that you should be able to take, like, your, like, of age children to superhero movies. I do think you should be able to. And I do agree that a Deadpool should be a movie. You should have a movie that's just for adults, keep the kids at home. But if you start mixing it up too much, then where's that special movie for the adults? Like, Deadpool was, like, special just for adults. If there's, I don't know, it will lose its touch if it's not special, if it's just the norm.
Yeah. Plus, there's comic book movies out there that are rated R that worked really well. Blade 1 and 2 were really good. And, 300 was very good. Yeah. That's a comic book movie. Sin City, The Spirit, which I know Cameron likes a lot, was a comic book movie, which was kind of ill-received for a while. But and a movie that I liked a lot, which answers a question later, which we'll get there, is Watchmen. Was a rated R comic book movie, and I liked it a lot. So, it's all about tone. It's all about...
I think the key here is comic book movie versus superhero movie.
Yes, yeah.
I think you kind of just accidentally said it. Yep. You just named off all comic book movies. They weren't superhero movies.
Right.
I think that's the distinction.
Yeah. So.
I think a kid that has memorabilia and is growing up on this stuff should be able to go with his dad to go see Captain America.
Yeah.
But that kid also isn't growing up with Watchmen memorabilia, so I get it.
Yeah.
So... I say don't take away the family bonding of the superhero movies, but leave some stuff just for adults.
Yeah. Next question comes from James. Team Batman or Team Superman?
I know nothing about either, but Batman.
Team Batman, obviously. It's the only choice.
I've never been... I watched the newer Batman movies, and I loved them. That's really my only...
The Nolan movies?
Yeah. That's my really only introduction into Batman, but I've never really been attracted towards watching any Superman. It just never appealed to me.
Oh, Superman doesn't work. That's the problem. Like, the way they're written, and Max Landis, he's a screenwriter. He's writing a comic book series for DC called Superman American Alien, which I think is the best portrayal of Superman I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, everybody thinks that I, hate Superman. No, I hate movie Superman. The Christopher Reeves movies, he's super overpowered, and then Superman Returns, which was, the sequel to the Christopher Reeves ones, but, that one was okay, and, Man of Steel was better, but it's not... The thing with Superman is he's too powerful, and they're giving him all the power where, in this American Alien, he can get hurt. He can get bruised. He runs into something at 50 miles an hour, he's going to get bruised. He's going to, bleed. He's going to, get a black eye once in a while.
So one of your big problems is it's not interesting to see someone that's invincible.
Superman's not interesting because he's invincible. Nothing can happen. Whereas Batman is a normal human being.
Yeah.
He's the only things he has is money, which allow him to be Batman, and
intelligence.
And he's not even a superhero. He's just a guy that does good, and that's what makes Batman compelling. Something could potentially happen to Batman, which I assume they're going to explore in this new DC universe eventually with Ben Affleck, which I heard he's the best part of this whole movie. So
really, I thought there was a lot of hate.
There was at first, but everybody says he's the best part of this movie. All the early reviews I read.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Again, I'm not a big DC guy. I like Batman. Batman's awesome, but I really have no interest in the DC universe until like even the Wonder Woman movie looks good because it's kind of like what they did with the Captain America movie where they're setting it back to during like World War One.
Oh, okay.
And so that's gonna be interesting. But even then, she's like super overpowered, and I'm worried they're gonna do the same thing to her that they did with Superman and just make him super powerful. So, and then Team Cap or Team Iron Man? I'm Team Cap. I'm tired of Iron Man.
I'd say Cap. I mean, I have to say Captain America because I'm like, have been since I was a kid, like a goody two shoes. So I think I relate more with Captain America. I like watching Iron Man, I think, a little bit more because I think he's funny. Or at least like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. But I relate more with Captain America, I think. And I believe in him more. But I do find Iron Man more entertaining.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Iron Man 1 was really, really good. And that was, obviously the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which has grown into this giant whatever. But I enjoy Robert Downey Jr. in that role. I just, after Iron Man 1, anything like Iron Man's been in is just not the movies aren't very good. And the only other movie that Iron Man's in is the Avengers that I really, really enjoyed, the first one. And like the second one wasn't very good, and like I'm really excited for Civil War though. But I am Team Cap.
I'd say Team Cap.
Team Cap. All right, next one. This one comes from Jacob. What is one movie that you liked, but everyone else seems to hate or dislike, or vice versa? I mean, I said Watchmen earlier, but that's like, it's not like one of my favorite movies. I just really enjoyed it, but
I don't know.
I really don't know.
I'm certainly prepared for this one.
I know.
I thought I would be, but nothing's coming to mind. That's a good question, though.
Yeah. Probably should have thought about this a little more.
Yeah. We can tag that for next time. Unless something pops in your head.
I mean, if we're going the other way around, what's one movie I didn't like that everybody loved was like, I wasn't really thrilled with Inside Out, to be honest.
Yeah.
That wasn't...
I liked it, but I wasn't like, oh my god, this is the best Pixar movie.
Everybody's like, this is Pixar's return to form. I'm like, I can name like 8 Pixar movies that are better than this.
Yeah.
That aren't called Toy Story.
Oh, totally not like in like the type of movie this guy's probably talking about. But Frozen. I could not stand that movie. I mean, and everybody loved it.
Frozen's okay. Like it was okay, but like it's not the it's all about the marketing with that movie, and it's got a catchy song. It's like all the Disney movies in the 90s.
I know, I just didn't think it was very good, and everyone was like, obviously children are, but I mean, adults are obsessed with it, and I was just not impressed.
Yeah, so
I know that's not really like a serious movie, but that's one that comes to mind where I was just like you just said with Inside Out, they're saying, one of the best, it's Disney, one of the best Disney movies since whatever, but I was like, it just seems like another Disney movie to me. It didn't feel that special.
Yeah, I mean...
Especially because it's a ripoff of this old, all Disney story
movies are ripoffs, though.
That I, grew up with, so it's kind of like... I don't know.
All Disney movies are ripoffs, though.
I know,
even Lion King is a ripoff of Hamlet, so, it's you see all these Disney movies, and, they're not... None of these movies are, original properties, which is, hilarious. Alice in Wonderland, Mary Poppins, Peter Pan, Jungle Book, Lion.
I know.
Aladdin. None of these movies are original properties. They just Disneyfy them, and we all love the spectacle of what Disney does with these properties. But it's not
I thought Frozen was a beautiful movie, but I don't think it was special.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Frozen, recent Disney animated movies, I can think of like 4 off the top of my head that were better. Big Hero 6 was better. Wreck-It Ralph was better. Tangled was better. What was that other one? Princess and the Frog was way better. Like, I think they're better modern Disney animated, not including Pixar, obviously, because they're 2 separate entities. But I think there are better Disney animated movies than Frozen.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know, whatever.
As far as, like, more serious movies, I can't think off the top of my head. We might have to put a pin in that.
Yeah. There was a question last week that I would really like to hear your answer, but I guess we'll do that later. But what kind of has to do with that? But,
what? Go ahead.
Like, what is your guilty pleasure movie?
I
said 10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You is one of my. And I don't think that's a guilty pleasure though. Like I proudly.
Yeah,
love
a lot of people messaged me that listened to this show last week, and I was like, everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" Everybody loves that movie, so I guess.
Maybe you felt like as a guy it was a guilty pleasure because it's like a romantic comedy.
Yeah, and I also liked A Knight's Tale.
Yeah,
that movie's awesome. Man, Alan Tudyk's in that movie too. But
I'd say any of those, like that genre, that like early 2000s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I love that movie.
I was just about to name other stuff, but everybody, like, I was gonna say like Clueless, but like everybody loves Clueless.
Everybody loves Clueless.
Yeah,
I said Clueless too.
That's like the first thing that's that like realm.
Yeah. It's a conversational podcast, so we can go off topic. So if you're listening, shh.
You just got shushed. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Like the first Captain America movie is very divided.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people like don't like that movie. I know people that don't like that movie, and I love that movie. I think it's the best.
I liked it.
I think it's one of the best Marvel movies. It's
I don't think that's
in my
really a
top
guilty
3.
pleasure.
No, I was just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Hey.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything.
I really don't know.
I'm like trying to channel my like teenager self because it's usually those kind of movies that you had to like watch in private.
Yeah.
I'd say just any of those like cheesy movies of the early 2000s. Like, it doesn't matter if it's good or not. You grew up on it. Like, you have to watch it.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. We'll come back to that. Maybe next week we'll come back to that one. Anyways, next question comes from Lee. Thoughts on the whole cinematic universe thing being a thing? For example, not necessarily Marvel or DC or whatever, but Men in Black and 21 Jump Street crossing over. Honestly, the rumors I've been hearing, honestly, about 23 Jump Street cross Men in Black.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they are making a crossover movie. 23 Jump Street is going to have Men in Black in it.
Ew, why?
I don't know, but hear me out.
Wait, which Men in Black?
Like Men in Black, like
Will Smith?
Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones are not coming back. But I have heard rumors that Chris Tucker is going to play Will Smith's part.
Oh.
Which I think would be awesome with Jonah
Tucker.
Hill and Channing Tatum, because those movies are hilarious. And Ice Cube, just seeing them, like this. Is
this a rumor or is this happening?
This is happening. This is happening.
Let me digest this for a second.
Oh my gosh!
Would like they stumble onto each other because the 21 Jump Street guys think they're just solving a crime and it ends up being alien involvement? Like, is that maybe?
I honestly don't know, but like, just the
it has to be done right, or it's gonna be horrible.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be horrible.
It's gonna be so bad.
But I can totally see that being like a guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah,
where like that it's so bad that it's good, like the Rush Hour movies.
I love the Rush Hour.
I know,
movies.
but like those movies.
I don't really remember them that well. But
those movies are terrible, especially that third one. It was on TV
the
the other day, and I watched it.
The first one is good.
Yeah, and they're making a TV show out of it now.
That's a little much.
But yeah, they're actually doing that. I know
what some guilty pleasures for me are, by the way.
What?
Is like, as far as TV, Like, I totally got into Fuller House because of Full House and, like, stuff like that.
Every time I come home from work and you're watching that and it's just one bad joke after another, it's terrible. Oh.
I only have a couple episodes left.
Hurry up so we can watch something else good, like House of Cards or Daredevil
You're
or something.
never home! But I'd say that's like a guilty pleasure, one of those things you liked as a kid, and then you want to hate it, and you do hate it, but you have to watch it.
Oh, it's so bad.
I know.
So
but
bad.
that's why that reminded me of what you were saying with, like, Rush Hour and stuff. It's like you enjoyed it when you were younger, so you have to see the new version of it. And even if you don't like it, you have to watch it.
To be honest, though, as much as, like, because we watch Girl Meets World.
Yeah.
I want to, like, as much as I didn't like Full House, as much as I hate the thought of Fuller House existing.
I didn't say it was good.
No, just the thought of it existing, like, makes me cringe.
Yeah.
I honestly think Fuller House did a better job of capturing the cheese and the personality of the original show than, like, Girl Meets World does with Boy Meets World. Even though, like, yeah, we got the Mr. Feeney cameo and Eric's in a couple episodes and Sean's shown up a couple times, but, like, there, as much as I'm, like, really enjoying seeing these characters again, like, it does something different enough to, like, pull me out of, like, this really is a new show. You don't feel
like you're watching Boy Meets World.
I feel like it's not a continuation as more as, like, I understand it's a Disney Channel show and it's about the kids and whatever, but, like, it Fuller House did it better.
Yeah.
Where, like,
if you're gonna be cheesy, be cheesy.
Yeah, it's still about.
But Boy Meets World wasn't cheesy. It was kind of serious.
Yeah, and like some of the things they did in this second season. I know it's a movie podcast. Sorry, we're going off on another tangent. It's all right. You'll get over it. But, like, I feel like they're trying too hard at the cheese that didn't really exist in Boy Meets World.
Yeah,
like the early
Boy
episodes.
Meets World was not cheesy.
Early episodes it did, but, like, after, like, the third season, Boy Meets World got super serious and, like, downright dark sometimes.
Yeah.
And, like,
with, like,
I don't ever
teenage drinking.
Yeah,
and, like,
I don't see
and
any of that happening on Girl Meets World. Even though it's nice to see the little touches, like, spoilers for, like, midway through the first season when Sean was buying clothes for Maya and his dad shows up.
Yeah.
Like, the ghost of his dad shows up. That was
cool.
Yeah,
that was a tearjerker.
That was about as close as it got to Boy Meets World for me as this show I think is going to get.
Yeah.
But
I think, I don't know, it's not too much of a tangent. It all kind of ties in with them doing, like, 21 Jump Street is a remake.
Yeah.
So, well, was a TV show, but I think when these things happen, it's like a car crash. Like, we want to look away, but you can't stop watching. Like,
yeah, but 21 Jump Street is so good. Those movies are so good.
But if you were a fan, which I'm too young for it, but, like, if you were a fan of the show, I guarantee you when the movie came out, those people were like, really?
Yeah.
So for us, it's new.
Yeah,
but for those people, they were like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
yeah.
So and now it's going even a step further, like, with a crossover.
This is the other thing, though. Like, they're taking 21 Jump Street, the movie franchise, is a known quantity right now, and they're taking the existing property of this and merging it with a reboot of Men in Black. Mm-hmm. Like, how's that gonna work? Because,
just,
like,
I can't even follow you. That's too complicated.
Because Men in Black 3 didn't come out that long ago, did it?
With, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't been that long.
We're not due.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. Sony seems to do whatever they want. I mean, they rebooted Spider-Man 3 times already, so.
That I can't. I cannot.
It's better now, though. He's home. He's with the
Avengers.
Yeah, he's home. It's fine.
Yeah.
Although the Venom spinoff movie, which I know you don't know anything about Venom, but it's really cringeworthy what they're talking about doing. I'm just like, argh.
I think if we start remaking everything, though, it's just gonna lose its touch.
I mean, we already have. Like, Ninja Turtles has been rebooted 4 times. Transformers has been rebooted several times. Everything that we love is coming back, and it's just like,
Leave well enough alone.
Although I do
But if they start remaking like real classics, like I hope they don't start remaking like The Breakfast Club.
Well, yeah.
Which they will. They will.
I mean, we see Disney doing it already with like they're making live action versions of their animated movies, like Beauty and the Beast coming out next year. We saw Cinderella, which
I feel
Cinderella
like that's
was
a little bit of a different audience, though. That's
it's
more of an adult audience.
Yeah, but it's still the same concept.
I know. I'm just saying it's not like it's a reanimated. It's a different perspective.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are there any other questions?
We have one more.
Okay.
And this is one I feel like you will answer very differently than me.
Okay, go ahead.
What are your thoughts on a series of movies like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars doing a main story first and then prequels after? I don't like Lord of the Rings, so...
Oh, me either.
Sorry,
yeah.
Rebecca and Lee, I know you guys are going to jump through the computer or iPod or the mega death supercomputer you have in your ivory tower, Lee, but...
I respect what it is. It's just not my...
I just cannot stand Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry. But, you know, I can definitely relate to it in the Star Wars sense and, you know, the Hunger Games thing that they're talking about doing prequels to that.
X-Men did it too.
Yeah, and X-Men. So I guess it depends because, like...
Are you saying that versus prequel... Well, back in the, like, the opposite? Or like, not having prequels at all?
I guess, like, because, like, Star Wars, the original trilogy was filmed in the 70s and the 80s, and then they did the prequels in the early 2000s. So, like, I guess, and then, like, Lord of the Rings was made in the early 2000s, and then The Hobbit just came out, like, a couple years ago, so.
I have nothing against it. Here's the way because, okay, you do the main movies. If you come up with more ideas as far as having the prequels or like side stories or whatever, do it, because some people want to see it and the people that don't want to see it, they don't have to.
Yeah, but if you're so immersed in that universe already, like, you're gonna want to see it.
So that's why they do it.
Yeah.
I have nothing against it. I do think it gets a little carried away sometimes. I don't think there needs to be like 3 prequels and then a prequel to that character and then a side story to that character.
Yeah,
and then...
I think that was kind of the main thing with The Hobbit is, like, the reason why people didn't like those movies is because it was a prequel. It was because it was 3 movies on a book that's about 100 pages.
Yeah.
So, like, they pulled a whole bunch of story elements from, like, the Silmarillion and Stories of Middle-earth and all these little side books. And, like, because after Tolkien died, they published a bunch of his notes and his short stories and stuff into, like, smaller books. And, like, they're not finished. They're just meant to give you backstory on the everything. And they pulled stuff from that, and it took away from what The Hobbit really is, which is just, like, a bunch of dudes going on a journey to... And, like, they run into weird stuff on the way. Like, that's everybody's problem with The Hobbit. Whereas Star Wars, of course everybody wants more Star Wars, but, like... And I still stand by the fact that the prequels aren't as bad as everybody says they are. Even though they're bad movies, they're just not as bad. But, like... the story that they were telling, we already knew what was happening. Like, obviously Anakin was going to grow up to be Darth Vader. Obviously Obi-Wan was going to go into hiding.
But I think
obviously
there was so much more in the prequels that, we knew that stuff. But there was so much that I didn't get from the originals.
Yeah.
The actual, like, story of the Jedis and all what led up to the rebellion, like, I needed that information. I didn't get that information from the originals. Which is, like, you're looking at it as an outside person who didn't grow up on Star Wars. Oh, for sure. And, like, part of the original trilogies, why people liked it so much is it had that mystique where, like, you were, like, who are these people? They're just there. Like, they just mention them, and, like, there's so much mystery surrounding certain characters and certain elements of the movie. I have to know. Like that's what made Boba Fett such a cool character. Is he literally has like
In the whole original trilogy, he literally has like 12 minutes of screen time. But
he's
one of the most popular characters.
To your point, if I watched them without knowing prequels existed or before prequels existed, I wouldn't think I needed it.
Yeah.
So I think if I just watched them back then, I wouldn't have left the movie or whatever being like, I need a prequel. It's because they already exist. Mm-hmm. So that's why, like, my view is different from somebody that saw them in the 70s and 80s because they were fine with what they had. I need the prequels because I know the information's there. So for me, it's like, why wouldn't I get more information if I can? But I get that. If I watched them originally before the prequels came around, I don't think I would have ever thought, let's have a prequel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the whole thing with, like, the way the X-Men did it is, like, that's when I like the prequels. Is like
those were almost better than some of the originals.
They're almost like rebooted the series without actually rebooting it, and then they did Days of Future Past in the middle, which was really smart. Which they connected the two universes, without them actually having to connect the universes, and like because Days of Future Past resets everything. So now the original trilogy can exist on its own. The prequels that they're doing now can exist on their own. With being in the same universe, Deadpool can exist on its own. Like, all these movies can exist on their own, while still being connected to this overall universe, which is, honestly, with Marvel, which is, I think those movies are great, but that's what they're doing wrong. Every movie is just another stepping stone to the next movie without being its own movie. The last movie we got that was like that was Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. You feel like you have
to watch it so you don't miss anything. You don't want to watch it because you genuinely want to watch it.
Yeah, Cameron and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago where, you know, we can't just sit down and watch Captain America 1, 2, and 3. We have to watch Captain America. We have to watch the Avengers. We have to watch Iron Man 3. We have to watch Thor 2. We have to watch Avengers 2 to get to Civil War from Winter Soldier. Which is just, it's just like, it's annoying almost now where like you have to keep up with these movies and it's almost not worth it anymore. So, it kind of...
What's the original question? Oh, prequels. Like you just said, like I think X-Men did it the right way. I think Star Wars had the potential of doing it the right way. I don't think every movie needs a prequel.
Are kind of revisiting the prequel sense without actually revisiting the prequels with Star Wars with Rogue One this year, which you know, it's a movie that takes place between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, but it's not.
Here's my thing with all those is now that you've kind of opened Pandora's box of prequels, you have to give them those movies because now we have like a timeline. So of course now you have to include those movies.
Yeah.
I think it's a necessary evil at this point to just keep expanding the timeline.
Yeah.
But I think like some movies do it in kind of like okay, like we were saying Men in Black. Like Men in Black 3 is a prequel. But it's not its own prequel. It's just the third movie where they do like a major flashback. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
If they had done like a legitimate prequel, I would have been like, really?
Yeah.
They kind of fit it in. The beginning and the end was in normal time. I think, point being, know the extent of what your movie needs to be and know your audience. I think in a humongous franchise like Star Wars, they'll do whatever they want till we're not around anymore because they can, and that's it.
Yeah, I heard this example on the Comic Conspiracy podcast earlier this week. Maybe it was the Geek Box, I don't remember. But they were talking about Indiana Jones 5 was just announced. Harrison Ford's returning. How are you going to tell a story about a 77-year-old man? By the time this movie comes out, he's going to be 79 years old. Like when this movie comes out. How are you going to do an Indiana Jones movie with an 80-year-old Harrison Ford?
Right.
Whereas Star Wars, you can do prequels, you can do sequels, you can do things within the timeline because it's a whole galaxy.
Yep.
Like Star Wars is a whole galaxy. There's characters everywhere. It's not like
there's planets,
the story,
there's universes.
The main story is centered around the Skywalkers and Han Solo. And,
but you can find a way to introduce any character.
Yeah, and that's what these like side stories are going to be. Like Rogue One has nothing to do with Luke Skywalker. It's a team of fighter pilots going to steal the plans for the Death Star to bring back to Princess Leia. That's the story. Whereas Indiana Jones, the movie's called Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Like, the only way to make more Indiana Jones movies after this is to start over. Or you get Harrison Ford to narrate, like, the beginning and the end as bookends. And, like, that's how you keep the universe connected, is Harrison Ford narrates it, you get a new actor to play young Indiana Jones, and then these movies take place before Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's like, how do you do this?
Or they just do the inevitable where it's his son or nephew or whatever.
Yeah, and like one of the big rumors that's going around is like they might just James Bond it, where like every 5 or 6 years a new person will come in and play Indiana Jones, and it's just, here he is, here's your new Indiana Jones, and like it's still going to be set in the 30s and 40s like the original trilogy, and that's where that universe is going to exist.
That's not a bad idea.
So, I mean, honestly, that's kind of where I'd like it to go.
I think that would be more appealing than the, like, son or nephew.
Yeah, but they have to come out and say that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Without, like, actually, like, they can't just hide it and say, oh, okay, Chris Pratt's going to play him for a few years, and then we're going to move over to Bradley Cooper, who's going to play him for a few years, and then we're going to move on to this actor for a couple of years. Like, they have to come out and say, look, we have a new formula.
Standalone movies.
We have a new formula for Indiana Jones. Here's what it is. We're going to James Bond it. We're going to sign this actor for a couple movies, and then, you know, if he wants to renew his contract, we will. If not, we'll move on to someone else. But this is the time period Indiana Jones needs to stay. This is what we're doing.
Yep.
And that's it.
I agree.
So,
hands down.
Hope we answered the question.
All right, I think we're about out of time.
No, there's always enough time. I'm just kidding. No, we do have a lot of stuff to do today. That was actually a lot longer than I thought we were going to do. So, thank you so much for watching the DNA Real Talk podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, yeah. Sorry, I'm tired. I was up working on the website all night. If you're watching on YouTube,
which looks amazing.
Yeah, check it out, please. DigitalNerdAdvocates.com.
Please. Thank you.
If you're watching on YouTube, give us those thumbs up, like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment below. Let us know how you liked our show.
Yeah.
Cameron should be back maybe in the next week or so. I'm not sure yet. But.
And if you have any questions for us for next time, feel free to leave a comment.
Yeah, what she said. I'm sorry. I always have like a thing that I read to keep me on track, and now I'm lost. So if you can find this show on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Rate us there. Give us those 5 stars, please. And I think that's about it. Follow us on Twitter at the DNA Network. Like us on Facebook. Join the community group.
Check out
our store, Redbubble store. More stuff's going up. And until next time.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.